What
Yeah.
we are is we have to create a culture of awareness of chiropractic and then
Hmm.
allow people to choose you,
Yeah.
right? That's my vision. Before I got on this call, I just recorded a module for an online program I'm working on, and it was all about creating your vision.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Trust Driven Insights podcast. I'm your host, as always, Dr. Josh Satterlee, and I'm joined by my friend, colleague, and amazing chiropractor, Dr. Lisa Goodman. Lisa, how are you?
Hi, I'm well. I'm well. It's nice and cool in Denver today, and it's a great day to be a chiropractor, as always.
Awesome. Yes, it is a great time to be a chiropractor. I will agree with you there. Unfortunately, I live in Las Vegas. We're recording this mid-August and it's hotter than blazes. So, yeah. I'm glad it's nice and cool there. Lisa, you and I know each other from traveling to speak at Parker seminars. I'm off in the tiny little janitor's closet, but you're on the main stage, wowing people, getting awards, bringing down the house. But give everybody a little bit of background, how long you've been in practice, how long you've been speaking, and I don't know, your dog's name or something.
Well, first of all, you're one of my favorite people in chiropractic, so thank you for having
Yes.
me. I am so glad I met you. I don't really remember exactly when it was, but it was a couple years ago, and you've just been an invaluable mentor to me. I'm
Oh, wow.
19,
High
I know,
praise.
honestly, I'm 19 years in practice.
Wow.
And you can never stop meeting awesome people in
Yeah.
chiropractic, right? I can talk about that all day. I opened my practice right out of chiropractic school. I went to Palmer West. I actually had my space rented and my brand completed like 3 months before I graduated. So it was like the second I got my license, I was in practice.
Yeah.
I'm a hyper ambitious individual. I am a workaholic. I don't know what to do about that. Vacations are hard for me. 10 days is way too long. I'd rather take four like 6 day vacations than one month long vacation. I love to travel, and thankfully this year, the last couple of years have been huge travel years for me, just giving
Yeah.
back to chiropractic. And I love it. I love seeing new places and meeting new people, but for some reason it just hits a little easier when I'm also being productive while I'm traveling. That kind of thing. It's kind of funny. But I wrote the book, The Manual for the Chiropractic Entrepreneur, which we'll get into because I love seeing people. One thing about me is I'm an Enneagram 3, which means you probably are too. I'm an achiever, but it actually really means that I like to see potential in other people and help
Yeah.
them see it themselves, which some people, don't want to be shown all their potential. And I'm not a welcome guest in that case. But
Hmm.
that's why I love speaking. It's why I love meeting students and, just helping people see like what's possible out there. My dog's name is Ozzy and he's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a lot of great points. So this podcast goes out to, chiropractors and other healthcare providers. And one thing is, that achievement in your local practice can mean many things to many people, right? Sometimes it's somebody that wants to serve a population they feel is underserved or they were part of. So they got, the classic one, they got injured in high school. They want to serve that high school athletes that's struggling with something. You see a lot of women going to like perinatal care because they had a bad experience and they want to, solve that for everybody. And then for you, what I think is awesome is you truly want to see our profession explode. You want to see those young providers like get what took you 19 years to achieve. I get the sense that if you worked with somebody and they achieved it in half that time, you'd be like, awesome, not, oh my God, this person's a threat, right? More, it's like, this is great. Yeah.
Like truly, like what 100% of people see a dentist, and you see dentists popping up everywhere. They know
Yeah.
that there's still more and more people that need a dentist, right? How many
Yeah.
people are seeing a chiropractor? You probably have this statistic, like
It's something like
5 to
15%.
8%. Okay,
Yeah.
10% of people are seeing a chiropractor. None of us are threats to each other. What
Yeah.
we are is we have to create a culture of awareness of chiropractic and then
Hmm.
allow people to choose you,
Yeah.
right? That's my vision, right? Before I got on this call, I just recorded a module for an online program I'm working on. And it was all about creating your vision, your values, your vision, and your mission.
Yeah.
Because that's my vision for the big picture of chiropractic is that we lift each other up and we promote the profession because we're not at the point yet where we can like selfishly promote our own practices and
Hmm.
better society.
Yeah. So the issue is not whether they're choosing Dr. Lisa or Dr. Josh. It's are they just choosing chiropractic?
Correct.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's,
that's when we change the conversation to how many times have you left a meeting and somebody, or even any healthcare provider listening to this, and somebody says, "Oh, I gotta go. I have an appointment with my chiropractor," and people stop and go, "Why? What do you have going on?"
mhm,
Right? It's like you have to have something wrong. But I want to change the conversation to, "Oh, who do you go to? I'm looking for somebody. I just moved here. Like, I need to set something up." So, like,
right.
we're so far from that right now.
That's a
We're
great
still
point.
getting the side angle of like, why are you going to a chiropractor? Or
Yeah.
why are you getting physical therapy? Like, what are you doing that for?
Because if they're like,
For
I'm going to I got a dentist appointment, I got to run. Nobody's like, oh my God, what's
totally,
wrong? You have an
to-
infection? Yeah.
totally and that's to me the litmus test of like when
Hmm.
we've made it as a profession, you know?
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I say this because I have had, unfortunately, I've crossed paths with people who, when you talk about like, I remember I was like a couple years into practice and I met this person and they were recruiting me. And I said, okay, you built this amazing practice, blah, blah. What happens when I'm, match your skill set? And maybe I was asking a cocky question or something.
What?
You could see it washed all over their face that they could never perceive that I could ever be that good. And it
Mm,
was it was very clear in that moment, and my wife saw it too, and she said, you're not working for that person. They are not interested in you succeeding. They are interested in you working for them
yes.
forever.
Well, you asked that question, would I be happier seeing a new graduate be more successful quicker than I
Hmm.
was in a business perspective?
Hmm.
Absolutely. It was painful 3 to 5 years to just, I feel like it took me 3 to 5 years to feel like I was starting that. Like that was a
Yeah.
whole postgraduate education, right? I recently hired a new associate and I hired somebody. So I'm a prenatal pediatric certified chiropractor. I teach for the ACA Pediatrics Council. I lecture a ton on pediatrics. I just hired a chiropractor with 6 years of experience who has more pediatric training than I do. And
Hmm.
she's potentially better clinically in a lot of ways. And that's when you also know as a business owner, you've evolved when you are hiring people better than you on paper or in real life to make your practice better.
It's like, high five, you're better than me. I love it. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So no, you'll never hear that out of my mouth. Like I want my
Yeah.
patients to say, is it okay if I see her next time? She did great last time. Like, yeah.
That's awesome. It also, we were talking before this call, it also means a lot of freedom, right? Your kids were at summer camp all summer, and you basically could write your own schedule as to when you want to practice. You got to play golf. I mean, those listening, Lisa's a big time golfer, and you got to play at some great golf courses. You got to treat professional golfers out on tour. You did a lot of things that are not possible if you don't have great talent in your office other than you.
Correct. And I kind of want to take this opportunity to also give entrepreneurs permission to feel that success and feel like they can step away. It actually
Hmm.
took me a long time, and I'm still not really comfortable with that, feeling like I can give some time up knowing other people are using their time to work in my office. But
Hmm.
we've worked hard. We continue to work hard. And like I said earlier, I'm not that comfortable with time off. So even though I'm in my practice 2 days a week and trusting others to run it, I'm working all the time when I'm not at my practice. Unless I'm on the golf course, then I turn my phone on do not disturb and I have a good time. I get to work with the USGA and do some things with their performance and recovery team. So that's really my passion, and working with golfers and caddies and being able to be out at those events is super cool. So again, working clinically, working events, writing a book, elevating the profession. I do kind of feel like I have the perfect job situation right now.
Awesome. That's good because you have achieved it, right? You're an achiever and you have achieved this. Yeah. Let's dive into those first 3 to 5 years. You said I can only picture, I've had the pleasure of meeting Lisa. You are a hard worker. You are like, you sink your teeth into something, it's going to get done. So the fact that you said it took 3 to 5 years for you to even feel like you could get in front of it, when I know how hard you must have worked, and this is pre-kids, this is you're younger, you're tons of energy. So I can only imagine how many hours every week were being poured into that practice. But what were some of the things that really stuck with you? Maybe you have a story or two that led you to write about that in your book.
One of the key things that I will say is if you decide to open a practice, you have to go all in on it.
Mhm.
And in order to go all in on it, it's helpful to have some kind of like somebody who's paying your rent at home. Because if
Mhm.
you're trying to go, so I was married when I started my practice, and luckily my husband had our mortgage and health insurance covered. So that was pretty much all. My goal was to pay my student
Yeah.
loans my first year. But if you in today's world, if I open a practice, and it's really possible, you could get a room out of a wellness collective, open a practice, for $800 a month rent. Like it's very doable. But what's also very doable is driving for rideshare or doing a moonlighting as a bartender or doing these side jobs to sort of help you pay your bills.
Mhm.
But what I noticed is that yes, the first 3 to 5 years were very painful from a business perspective, but from getting patients and earning revenue and income, what I noticed is when I had rent due on Friday and it was Monday and I didn't have money for that, right now I would have two choices. I would say I'm going to go drive for 15 hours and make enough money to pay my rent, or I'm going to go hustle and get three new patients before Friday and pay my rent. So, where is the motivation going to come from to be successful as a chiropractic or a healthcare entrepreneur?
Mhm.
You have to go all in on your practice and you'll grow so fast. But if you're split or divided or hedging where your income's coming from, it's going to take a lot longer. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I've noticed from colleagues who do other things or even working part-time in another healthcare office and then part-time
Yeah.
trying to grow your own,
That one
right?
I will say, like I've seen a lot of people do that where they spend, oh, I'm going to transition out to my own thing. I'm going to, and then for 6 months they're working half in theirs, half in somebody else's. And on paper it seems like, oh, this is good because I'll have some money coming in. But if you just watch their revenue, it's almost like slow growing, slow growing, slow growing. And the moment they commit fully to theirs, all of a sudden you either see it shoot up or it peters out and dies. But most of the time it shoots up because they're like, now they don't have that safety net and you burn the boats, as they say, and you're like, this has to work
Yeah.
to the point where that previous 6 months wasn't even worth it. Like,
Nope. It's
yeah,
also where you'll see effort change. So, as someone who's had
yeah,
associates in my practice and like amazing associates in my practice, and I'll ask them all the time for social media content, or I'll ask them to write a blog, or I'll ask them
yeah,
to show up at an event. And it's like they kind of just want to show up and treat patients, right? A lot of
yeah,
associates. Well, as soon as that associate opens their own practice, guess what? They're filming social media content. They're writing blogs. They're showing up at events because, oh, that's how I have to grow a
yeah.
practice in my community. Oh, that makes sense. Like the number of times I've gotten a text or a phone call from a past associate that says, I'm so sorry that I never did all these things that you wanted me to do because now I understand. Like, and you really can't get that motivation until you are
Yeah,
we kind of preach against a scarcity mindset, but there's no way around it. When you start a practice, you are hustling to pay your bills, and that's how
oh
you're going
yeah.
to be successful, you know?
Yeah. And it just gives you, I always say, like, when you see these people that go to it's a pet peeve of mine, people that do like a bachelor's and then immediately go into an MBA program and they've never
Uh-huh.
actually been in business, right? It's just
Correct.
like, and
Correct.
I'm like, you should not be allowed to get an MBA if you've never been involved in any sort of business administration, right? You
Yeah.
shouldn't, and part of that is I think the keystone thing you should always experience before you're allowed to get an MBA is you should know what it's like to almost not make payroll. To look at people you know, like, and trust that are in your office that have dedicated the last 2 weeks to you, and you, in the back of your mind, are thinking, I don't know if I can pay you tomorrow. God dang it, I hope it goes through. I hope those credit card charges clear. I hope this. I might have to borrow
Oh
money
my
from my
gosh.
in-laws or whatever to pay you because that psychological shift, all of a sudden you actually start reading business books and taking them to heart. Not just like, oh, cool story, bro, but it turns into, oh, that's a great skill to learn because I don't ever want to feel this feeling of missing payroll again. And I've never missed it in my life, but there have been three clear moments where it was as close as it could be, and it sucks. It absolutely tore my heart out. And I mean, I was wasn't even sleeping. I was like laying on my bed. I remember midnight staring at the ceiling, sweating for no reason, you know?
Imagine a practice where patient engagement is seamless and unified. With TrustDrivenCare, connect with patients across text, email, social media, and Google Business Chat, all on autopilot. Empower your team to step in effortlessly and engage in real time from anywhere. Say goodbye to multiple software and hello to a simplified practice and life. TrustDrivenCare is the all-in-one solution to save time, boost revenue, and build patient loyalty. Book your demo today and watch your schedule start to fill up. Now, back to the show.
Well, the same thing happened when I started my practice. It was just me and then a part-time front desk person. So
Hmm.
that's all pretty easy to look at expenses and income and profit. But when you hire other people on and they're performing a service and potentially a service that you're not getting paid on because it's maybe delayed payment, like car accident insurance or something like that, you're hiring these people and you have to pay them. I had almost maybe an entire year where I was using a line of credit to make payroll and I was negative. And that's the transition from going a solo practitioner to hiring a staff or a team is like having some buffer to do that. I mean, I guess that's something I would say if it just isn't one plus one equals payroll, there's
Yeah.
delays in credit card processing. I mean, you're literally looking at the day like, okay, if we could sell a pair of insoles today, we could make payroll tomorrow. Like you're looking at it like, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's actually a really good reminder because and no one who works for you cares. Just pay me. They don't want to hear you're the business owner, like poor you, you can't make payroll. Like you hired me,
Yeah.
so pay me.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
can't commiserate with anybody,
Right. Yeah. And
you know?
yeah, but as soon as you talk to other business owners, which would be one little lesson is if you are building up a new practice, I would say get in a situation where you can be around other business owners. It doesn't have to be other healthcare providers, but just other business owners
Correct.
and ask them, just be comfortable asking that question. Like I was in a Rotary Club and half of the people were business owners. And when I said like struggle to make payroll, I was talking about it and I was at a table like 8 or 10 people. And like everybody was like, oh yeah, we've all been there, man. Oh, and some of these guys had 1,000 employees. And I'm like, oh really? Like, and one guy, he had 800 guys working for him, his construction company, and he's like, when the state didn't pay us on time, yeah, it got really tight. We had to go get a line of credit and blah blah blah. And you're like, oh, you have the same problems. They just have more zeros at the end of them. I got it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a real struggle. I want to go back really quick to something a little bit more practical about the three to
Hmm.
5 years and getting myself feeling comfortable. Biggest piece of advice I would give anybody starting out is to ask for help from professionals who do the thing all day, every day. Because as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, you're going to wear all the hats. You're setting up your own IT or potentially your own firewall.
Hmm.
You're creating your own logo or your own brand. You're designing your own website and getting your own hosting and your email. You can mess that stuff up so badly from the beginning, and it makes it really
Hmm.
hard to fix it later. You might even have contracts that you need, or a job description, or a handbook if you're hiring somebody right away. It's like so much better to pay an IT guy $500 to set up your setup at your office than to try to figure it
Hmm.
out on your own. So I do have a whole lot about that. And the really sexy chapter of, compliance and set the must do's of owning a business in the manual, because don't make your own logo on Canva or brand your own practice without a professional helping you. It's so much better when somebody's helping you do it
Yeah.
and you can have that for the rest of your life. From
Yeah.
anything from tax accountants, do not set up your own QuickBooks. Even in the very beginning, don't set up your own profit, how to calculate profit. Like ask for help where those things make sense to do.
All great points. There are so many little things you have to do in that first, essentially before the doors open for the first time. Like, do you use Microsoft Teams or do you use Google Suite? And if you do, are they HIPAA compliant? And then, how do you set up when you hire somebody, a new user? And then, do you have a front desk account? Is there just a general account for the office or is it only for every person like Dr. Lisa and admin and, all these things? Real quick, let's plug your book because I think it's good for people to know when you're saying the manual. I know you refer to it as that, but it's the manual for the chiropractic entrepreneur. What percent, Lisa, of that book do you think applies to just healthcare in general? Like if I was a mental health therapist.
Yeah, you can replace the word chiropractic with pretty much anything else. There is
Okay.
very little in here that is honestly specific to chiropractic. I've got information in here on risk management and compliance. So any
Mm-hmm.
healthcare provider is going to need that information. The must-dos of owning a business, projecting profit. A lot of this is like for that first year in practice. So either new graduates from any healthcare profession or someone who's been an associate and is now ready to open their
Mm-hmm.
own. I would recommend getting going on reading this a little bit ahead of time because, like you said, there's a lot of groundwork you can lay. My background in college was as a marketing and graphic design major, and I
Mm-hmm.
was pre-med. So I worked for 4 years at a branding advertising agency in San
Really?
Francisco.
That's
Yes.
cool.
And so that served me so well. There's a lot in here about branding, marketing, grassroots marketing, networking, all the things you need to do to put yourself out there. And one of my big things is make your brand look like it's been there for 10 years or 20 years. Like make it so that new people moving to the area aren't like, oh, that's person's brand new. Like, oh, they're
Yeah.
established. They've been here. That's the place to go. But my weaknesses in running a business are definitely the financial piece of that, like
Mm-hmm.
the how to calculate profit or how to set fees or how to collect money and also the accounting and the legal and the HR and the HIPAA. Like those are things I know a lot about marketing, branding, and building a fun place and a patient experience for people to come in, but I wasn't very good at the business side. And so that's the other reason that I wrote this. We do not get any of that in chiro school. So or in optometry school or PT school or when you're getting your psychology degree, you don't. I think if they had come into the room on day one and said, "All right, you guys are all going to become psychologists to, after 4 years, you're going to have this great
Mm-hmm.
practice. Oh, and by the way, you are going to have to open your own practice and run an entire business, and it's going to take all of this." Like, how many people would have said, "I'm not going to finish this program"? I'm like, we know maybe intuitively that the psychologist we've seen is a private practitioner, but we don't really think what that's going to mean when we're done with school. So, yes, this book is applicable for all of that, and maybe future iterations of it will say the healthcare entrepreneur or partner with
Yeah.
other professions that could dial that in a little bit more. But this was something that meant a lot to me to do for our profession, and I intentionally wanted to make sure that chiropractors knew that I was there to help and that
Yeah.
we have a lot of work to do. And so I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. I want to go back to my two of my favorite words that you happen to use right there and talk about an area where I think you and I see eye to eye almost more than any other place, which is patient experience. And the fact
Yeah.
that that should be focused on, should be a large part of your marketing, quote unquote, marketing budget. That patient experience I look at as your internal marketing. There are so many practices I see that are dying and they're working their butts off to get people in. And then if you ask the people, how was that first visit? They would say, I've had better, and yet they're like, why do I spend so much to get a new patient? All this, what lessons do you have about patient experience? I mean, I've been in your talk at like large chiropractic seminars where this is a huge topic of discussion and whatnot. And, I think this is just a untapped area.
For one thing, I'm drinking out of my branded water bottle right now. I think
Awesome.
branding yourself, branding is fun. Wearing yourself, right, is like
Hmm.
the best way to start conversation. This is always comes out wrong when I say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Patients could come to you and you could be not that good at adjusting, not that
Hmm.
good at being a chiropractor.
Hmm.
But if they loved their conversation with you or your front desk, or your office smelled amazing and the parking experience was easy and the rebooking experience was easy and fun, and they left with like the warm fuzzies, they're going to come back to you whenever you tell them to, and they're going to feel better leaving your office
Yeah.
because of the experience you've built. And so it's incredibly important for new chiros who are a little less confident in their clinical skills to create a really fun experience for people. So,
Yeah.
in a nutshell, it's like I think you've used this example of like Disney World and the way that the staff is trained to create an emotional response to the experience at the
Hmm.
theme park versus going somewhere where people really don't care that much about it.
Yeah, I'm glad that resonated because like I always say, like this idea of clinical skills, sometimes I do the correlation of it's the people think, oh, you go to an amusement park for the roller coasters. And although
Uh-huh.
that's where you may end up, the experience getting there is what really matters. And I say the Disney does not have the best roller coasters. They don't have any loops that I know of. They're not the highest in the world. They're not the fastest.
Mm.
But what theme park has the most returning clients of anywhere? Which theme park charges the most? Which theme park has like almost like they're filled up every day to the point where they have to limit tickets? And what would you rather have? Like a half empty park that has the highest, fastest roller coaster in the world, or one that's bursting at the seams that has pretty good roller coasters? And if your clinical skill set at this point in your life, I know you're an achiever, so if I said if you weren't as good as someone else, but like, would you rather be 75% clinical but 100% patient experience score, or the opposite? I think I'm going to guess you're going to go with the higher patient experience score.
Yeah, so I would definitely go with the patient experience score. And you could call it a placebo or whatever you want, but somebody can come in my office and I could really barely work on them on their first day because
Yeah,
it's like we're talking a lot and they feel better when they leave. That's
right.
that's clinical, that's good care actually.
And they
Patient
get
experience is
better.
good care.
Yeah. And that better experience extends to if you have massage therapists, the
Yeah.
experience of the massage therapist better. If you have people doing rehab in the back, it extends to them. If you have a new student who's treating somebody, you still get that huge benefit of the experience. So it takes that student whose clinical skill set might be 35% and makes it feel like it's 60, 70%. There's just so much leverage from it.
Yeah, so I'll give you one of my favorite examples. Because of the fact that you and I are so in tune to this, we also see it everywhere in our lives. So
Yeah.
when I go to a restaurant, somebody's told me, "Oh my gosh, you have to go to this place. It's so amazing." And the server sits down and gives us water and says, "Okay, menu's on the QR code. I'll be back to check on you." Or maybe they might even be friendly. "Welcome in. Menu's on the QR code. I'll be back to check in on you." That's fine, right? They checked the box. They brought you water, they checked you in. What about the server that comes over and says, "Welcome in, guys. I'm so glad you chose our place. The menu is on the QR code. I also have a paper one if that's a preferable experience for you.
Hmm.
And highly recommend the pesto chicken pasta. It's my favorite thing here, but you can't go wrong." Like you're just suddenly feeling like,
Way different.
oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy, but it's so different. And now I go, "Oh, the pesto chicken sounded good, but I'm going to try the burger." And then they go, "Oh my God, people love our burger." Like, why
Hmm.
wouldn't you just say that? Why does
Hmm.
somebody else go, "Burger, copy, okay, we'll have that out for you soon"? Again, they're nice, but they're not like emphasizing the decision you made,
Yeah.
and you don't feel as good about the decision you made. They can actually make you even feel bad about the
Right.
decision that you made because they could go, "Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Do you want cheese on that? What kind of cheese do you want?" And you're just like
Right.
feeling like, "Did I decide right?" So at our practice, somebody's done getting adjusted. It's my reflex to say, "I feel you're going to feel so much better after that." Something to that effect. Like, I know you're
Hmm.
going to feel like that was a great adjustment. That felt really good for you today. You did a good job. Like I put it on the
Hmm.
patient. You did great today, or something like that. That's clinically me. But then the front desk is going to say something, similar like, "Let me get you rescheduled. Dr. G's schedule fills up, and I want to make sure you get the time that works best for you and when you
Hmm.
feel like you can receive your adjustment the best. I know you seem to do better
Hmm.
in the mornings," or something like that. So it's like they know me, they care about me, they're reinforcing why I'm
Hmm.
here. And it's just energy and words and input.
Hmm.
I say it all the time on a performance review for someone working for me. I can go down the whole checklist and they're doing all of it, but they're not doing it like the way that it should be done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and what you realize after 5 years of that is the energy you create in them, the overwhelming positive experience is the energy when you ask for a referral. They have energy there. They're like, oh, absolutely. I already tell my friends, but I got to tell my friend Stacy. She's really hurt, she's complaining about low back pain. Or when you ask for a Google review, I can tell in our clients, selling trust driven care, who has a great experience by just the sheer number of words in a Google review. Like if you just take the average, there we have one client who basically most of their reviews, they have a lot of reviews, but they're all like one sentence or less, like good people, nice staff, or Dr. Lisa's
Oh,
pretty good. Like it's just blah. And like they're getting
uh-huh.
them versus, we have one lady, she does infertility treatments and most of her reviews are 2 and 3 paragraphs. Like, I never thought I'd be listened to and they take good care of you and I'm like, my God, like the stark difference. And if you want to know, like, would you rather have 20 reviews that are 2 and 3 paragraphs each or 100 reviews of these like short little sentences? 20 is going to make or break and people are going to feel so good about coming to you. But that's where it comes from is going down and getting that rich enjoyment of like of how everybody treats them and how the clinical experience goes. Like you can't
Well,
only have one, but when you have both, it's absolutely amazing.
yeah, I mean, getting results is important. I'm
Yeah,
not trying to, I don't want to discount the fact that
neither
you
am I.
you you
No, yeah.
have to be able to take a good history and you have to be able to make sure that client or patient is is appropriate for your care and make sure they don't need a
Hmm.
referral out. You're a doctor. You have to make sure you know what you're doing
Yeah.
and provide good clinical care. But this is definitely going to kind of meet everything. It's similar to like an Airbnb. Have you ever stayed in an Airbnb that has zero personality, zero hominess, zero comfort, anything? Then you've gone to an Airbnb that has every toiletry you're ever going to need, and the kitchen is
Yep.
pretty well stocked with spices and different things. And those reviews, those are the reviews that are like 3 pages long. If you read
Hmm.
Airbnb reviews that are like, pleasant stay, good host, versus like, holy moly, I couldn't believe they had beach chairs and they had umbrellas and they had all the we forgot this and they had it, and it's like it's not hard. Not That's the other part of it, is it's not hard to stock your bathrooms in your office with things that people need, to like tampons and diapers and things like that. It's not
Yeah.
hard to offer a tea or beverage station. But I want to get back to another point you said, which is like, stop spending money on getting new patients to come in the door from sources that aren't like part of your community. We can talk about that. That is important, obviously, networking and creating sources for new patients. But if you have one patient in your practice as a brand new practitioner, that patient is your army. They're your network, and they can send in one more patient, one more person. Now you have two people who could potentially send in, two more people. My entire practice, I think, grew from one patient that I got, that a physical therapist or personal trainer sent me. And you can tell right away who are your influencers in your practice
Hmm.
and who are your talkers and who are going to share about you. It's so funny, from swag to your information that you put up in the bathrooms or in the reception
Hmm.
area,
Hmm.
to actually verbally asking people for reviews and referrals. I also include our electronic newsletter in internal marketing. That creates a really comfortable experience for people.
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day, but I've had people say that they don't do, so many people don't do newsletters. And I've had people say they don't do newsletters because nobody's going to read them. Okay, let me ask you this. I belong to a CrossFit gym. I love my
Hmm.
CrossFit gym community. I read every single newsletter from my CrossFit gym. I want to know who's getting married or whose special WOD is this weekend or what social thing they're doing or who PR'd or whatever. Like, that's my community. I'm interested
Yep.
in that information. I'm not reading the newsletter that like Reebok sends out 3 times a week on their sales unless I'm in the market to buy something that week, and then I might open it up. But we're the community of our patients. When my
Hmm.
kids' school sends out a newsletter or their daycare sends out a newsletter, I'm obliged to read that. I need all that information. We fit in there. People want to know what Lisa Goodman and Washington Park Chiropractic are doing. Where is she traveling? Where is she speaking? What kind of continuing ed did her massage therapist just get? What's a special this month? Like, nobody's trashing that without looking at it or taking a glance at it, because yes,
Hmm.
do we get too many emails and too many newsletters? Like 100%. But you actually are one people are going to want to read and check in with, I would argue.
Yeah. I, I, I think their statement is technically right. Nobody's going to read this. Yes, 80% of people won't, or whatever, 60% of people won't. But that's fine. That's not who you're talking about. What you're talking about is like if you look at any practice, you're not getting referrals from 80% of your patient base. You're getting referrals from like
Correct.
5 to 20%. And
Correct.
so, guess who's also probably highly correlated with reading your newsletter, finding out, walking up to you at their next visit and going, "Oh my God, Lisa, did you
Totally.
go to Connecticut?
I saw that.
That's where I
Yes.
grew up, or I used to play that course as a kid, or you
I
know,
saw that in your newsletter. I
right,
saw that oh yeah, Dr. Bells is out this week. She got married. Oh, I saw that in your newsletter. I hear that every
right.
day. I saw that in your newsletter. And
Yeah,
you're right. It's the same, 100 people that are reading the newsletter start to finish that
right.
are going to be the
And
ones that are forwarding it to someone else or
yeah.
referring it.
And the reason to send it to 1,000 or 5,000 people is you don't know who will find that interest, but give everybody a chance. Just like, just like any product, like your CrossFit gym is the thing that you read. Now, if you moved and started at a different, there's no guarantee you're going to read the newsletter from the other CrossFit gym if they have one, but there will be something in your community you connect to, you
Yeah.
know? And it's the same for a friend of mine. She runs a 501(c)(3), and she said that there's probably 150 people. So they put shoes on kids here in Las Vegas, which is like, that might not seem like a big deal, but it's like winter coats in Denver. Like every
Okay.
kid should have one.
Yeah.
When it's hotter than hell, you need shoes out here. Anyway, so that's their thing. And she said there's like 150 people that literally will call her up. I was just saw in the newsletter. Are you serious? 500,000 kids have gotten a pair of shoes. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Or, hey, you'll get crazy questions. I know I have a lot of energy about this. She will get crazy questions about, hey, I saw you're doing a backpack stuffing this weekend. My mom's in town. Can I bring her?
Mhm.
Right? And how many people have you had that ask like a crazy question about, I was reading the newsletter, can I bring my sister when she comes for Thanksgiving? Would you take a look at my, fill in
Right.
the blank? And it's
Yeah.
like they have that much energy to refer you patients, is that they're scheduling family vacations around you and stuff, and they're out there. Those people are in your practice right now.
I've gotten emails and there's no rhyme or reason for it. I'll get an email from someone I haven't seen in 10 years because they moved to California, but they're
Yeah.
still on my list. And something in this month's newsletter triggered them to send me a response to say, "Hey, super proud of you, kid. Like, love all the stuff you're doing." And, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't thought of you in 10 years." And you're just sitting there secretly reading my newsletter because
Yeah.
it makes you happy. So
Yeah.
like, dude, and
Awesome.
newsletters are so easy to write if you have a cute little formula and you make it very personal. The one thing people want is to know you and what's going on with you. They don't want you to write a
Hmm.
newsletter that's like four external links to some blog about why you should take vitamin D from this nutritionist and
Yeah.
why you
How
should.
mechanoreceptors really work. No one cares.
Nobody cares about it. They care about something you
Yeah.
wrote or somewhere you are or something you're doing in your practice or when you're going to be closed for the holidays. And like they want to know. And I mean, practices all should have some philanthropic endeavors and they want to know about that. Oh, not to mention, if I just went and met with a new pelvic floor physical therapist, which I did this morning, I might put in my newsletter, "Hey, shout out to Danielle and her PT office, and she's doing great work with her clients." Like that's connecting community, and that's like a
Huge.
personal recommendation from me. So yeah, like I said, I can talk about that all the time, all day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that this is one of the modules that will be in your new program. So let's talk about that as we wrap up here. You have a new, so there you were, you decided, I have a successful practice, I'm hiring people, but I have too many hours left in my day. Ooh, I'll write a book. And then you wrote a book, and then it was, I have too many hours left. I'll travel nationally to speak. And now you're doing that. And what's the
And
next iteration?
I promised my husband, this is the last thing,
Yeah.
Joe. There won't be another thing
Sure.
after this.
Yeah. And he
Um,
smiles and probably kisses your forehead and he's like, sure, babe, sure.
you're adorable, Lisa.
Yeah.
So I am turning the book. This was a very natural progression. I'm turning the book into an online course. Think of it as a postgraduate course for chiropractors who just were craving the business side. How can I
Mm-hmm.
figure out how to open a business? And it really runs like a course. It's project based. So you'll see a ton of things where you can get on YouTube, you can follow people on social media, follow me, Dr. Lisa Goodman, but This is like boots on the ground. Like, okay, Josh, your first assignment and my business is called the Practice Fox because the fox is my spirit animal. And if you've ever done the like, are you a fox, owl, beaver, dolphin personality
Hmm.
test? I'm a fox. Foxes are clever. They're strategic. They're cunning. They're adaptable. They're resilient. They're adorable.
Hmm.
So that's me. I'm the practice. So it's called the Practice Fox. And the first course in the Practice Fox is called Fox Tracks. And it consists of 18 essentially assignments. Some of them have more than one. I originally designed it to do over the course of 18 months. So you would get in your email inbox one assignment in the month. Low pressure, right? Okay, your first assignment actually in the Practice Fox, Fox Tracks, is to reconnect with your why. So starting to open a practice, I need to know, and you need to know, why are you a chiropractor? Why did you go to chiropractic school? Did your why change once you became a chiropractor? And we also want you to explore, where is your future why? Like, how many of us we go, where are you going to be in 3 to 5 years? And we'll tell you all the what. We'll tell you who we're going to treat, what we're going to be doing, and how we're going to do it. But do we ever say, like, why do I want to become an NFL chiropractor in 3 to 5 years? Why do I want to treat pregnant women and kids? So the first module of this whole course is reestablishing your why. And then from there, I actually have projects you're going to complete that are completing your vision, your mission statement, your values, and your vision. This is necessary for your website. This is necessary for your social media. We have an entire module where you're going to complete a business plan. You may not need funding. If you don't need funding, you don't need a business plan, but you need a business plan because if you don't have a plan, you can't follow anything. And that's not to say everything's going to go according to plan, but you want to have a plan. So I have a module where you can choose to write a 1 to 2 page business plan or a 6 to 10 page business plan and so
Hmm.
on. And so the next, we're going into your branding. Let's talk about, how do you
Hmm.
choose a name for your practice? This should not be done reflexively. And why actually the way active consumers are interacting with the internet, your brand name matters more than anything now because they're going to judge you based on your name before they even go to your website or click on anything. They're searching chiropractor near me. That's all they're going to see is your name, right? We're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about marketing, how to build a newsletter and give you a template for that. So this is a course I would say unlike any other practice management company. I'm not giving you a script to memorize and do on your phones at your practice. I'm giving you, this is what you need to do and I want you to do it your way, and this worksheet this month is going to help you flesh it out your way. Your patient experience module
Hmm.
is all about walking in the steps of your patient from the second they hear about you to the second they go to your website to when they actually leave their first appointment. So, and then we have our super fun risk management chapter, which, by the way, yes, you have to protect yourself. Somebody could allege that they had an uncomfortable experience with a chiropractor. But guess what? The risk management chapter is almost entirely about patients who behave badly in your office and why you need to be
Hmm.
prepared for that encounter. So it's literally like everything from the first year of practice. It's sort of meant to be an 18-month process, but for those ambitious folks out there, it's like as soon as you finish one, you can go on to the next one and complete these modules. So they're interactive. You're going to come away with all the content you need for your website and your newsletter,
Love it.
your brand kit. It's something that can be started while you're in chiropractic school, maybe 6 months before you graduate, or if you're an associate, I'd
Yeah.
recommend starting it before you open your doors. But you can also do it in conjunction with like, okay, I'm already open and I'm going to start working on this.
Yeah. So an analogy might be the entire program will teach somebody how to make an entire Thanksgiving dinner, but it starts out as like, let's just talk about the mashed potatoes. They're not that hard, but here's some things to consider. And once we lock those off, we'll move to something a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult. And then you say, look, you can't have Thanksgiving without turkey, aka compliance. You got to do it.
Yes, but
Secretly,
even
nobody likes turkey, so it's all right, but you still got to
nobody
have.
wants turkey. But
No.
that's the thing. You actually just set me up to answer this perfectly. It's not starting with the mashed potatoes. It's actually starting with the decor and the tablecloths, and why are you hosting? Why don't you want to go to somebody else's
Mm.
Thanksgiving first? Why don't you
Okay.
want to be the guest? Why do you want to be the host, right? And how
Yeah.
many people do you
Do
want
you
to have
actually want to
over?
be the host? Is a really good
Do
question to
you
ask. Yeah.
actually, that's a mini module I'm about to put out, is a 2-hour course on deciding. Do you
Yeah.
want to be an associate? Do you want to be an independent contractor? Do you want to be an owner? And are you ready? Do you have the capabilities to do it? And then, what questions to ask and how to negotiate and how to have a good relationship with your employer and things like that.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole excitement part. Yeah, for sure. And then we'll get into the mashed potatoes and about module 5.
Right.
But we have to set it up and make sure that this is something that you're doing for the right reasons. Because it'll just like it will. I don't know about you. I do know about you. You and I are both on in different Facebook groups, and we see questions from new docs and new practitioners all the time. And doctors who are like, I'm struggling so hard. I've been doing this for 6 months. I can barely get a patient in my office. I mean, I want to talk to you about your personality. I want to talk to you about like, are you magnetic? Are you in love with, if you're a PT or a therapist or a chiro, are you in love with
Hmm.
your profession? Like, it's
Hmm.
easy for me to talk about why you should go to a chiropractor because it's amazing, right?
Hmm.
Like, if you can't talk about what you do, like if you're at Thanksgiving and you're not really thankful, no, I'm just kidding. We can just take that for so far
Yeah.
now.
It's a good
But
analogy. That's fine.
it's like, why are you hosting if you don't love the
Yeah.
holiday, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I do think you have a good point. Like my wife, she went into chiropractic college, and then by the end of it, she realized she doesn't really enjoy working directly with people, but she really enjoys diagnostics, right? So she went into the radiology program because it's pure diagnostics without working directly with people. Now, she could have thrown the whole thing out and said, I'm never doing this, but she said, like, this is the part that I really love. And I
Yeah.
have met plenty of people that are totally burned out because they're like, I have no desire to work on blue collar males in work comp, but then you get them around new moms and babies and they are exploding with energy. They're like, I do this all day long for free. And that's an important thing to figure out. And for me, one thing that a couple lessons I had to learn, like my good friend in college was on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, and he moved out here to Las Vegas, and he was in the scene of all the MMA guys when it was just growing, right? It was just kind of hitting their stride. And there I am as a young provider, like I'll treat your buddies. And so all his friends came to see me. My schedule was like half full of these guys that could all beat me up. They all had an unlimited number of things to get treated, right? They all needed treatment every day. They were awesome. They were nice. They're appreciative, but they're broke. And telling a guy that can beat you up or telling 9 guys that can beat you up, hey, I need you to start paying or not coming was super uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. You realize you can't just block half your schedule and give it away to people because you'll never feed your family. And I was like, oh crap, I'm running out of money, yet I have a full schedule. So that was one realization I had. And then another one was for a little bit, I got referred like 3 NBA players who live in Vegas in the off season, right?
Yep.
And one thing I realized, I love working with golfers, and golfers will show up to your office at 6 a.m. Like there's no challenge. It's an early sport, but they will not show up after 4, right? They're like done for their day. NBA guys are like, the early appointments are noon, and like, they're never going to show up to your office at 6 a.m. Well, I don't like afternoons. I like 4 or 5 o'clock, I start winding down. Those NBA guys are just getting going. And I realized, oh, that's not a good patient for me because I'm half brain dead when I see them. And
Yep.
and you just learn these subtleties about finding your perfect patient, who you want to work for, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of people that it's not just that are struggling to find patients, they're struggling to find themselves. They're burned out and they're not a nice person to see simply because of the situation they're in. So I could go down that path
So
forever, but I don't want to beat that horse.
So, two things. I just asked 5 of my favorite chiropractors colleagues, what did you wish you had learned in chiropractic school? I'm
Mm,
putting together a little Instagram reel about that. But one of them said, I wish I had had the tools to avoid burnout as a practitioner.
mm,
So that is a huge thing. And with being a chiropractic entrepreneur, I'm 19 years in and I'm still hustling. I'm still networking. I'm still meeting people. You never stop that. So that can lead to burnout unless you're able to diversify or unless you really love your patient base and what you're doing. The other thing I wanted to make sure to mention about the Practice Fox program and Fox Tracks is that there are two channels that you get as when you purchase the program, you get both channels. So you can choose which one you want to do each module. And
Hmm.
one is the brand new graduate or the student. And one is I've been in practice for 3 to 5 years and I'm lost. And so when you open module one, finding your why, for the new graduate, that's like fresh. For the practitioner that's been in 3 to 5 years, the instructions and the video prompt from me is much more about let's reassess. Are we where we thought we would be? Are we
Hmm.
happy with where we are? And so every single module, even from the mission, vision, values, and we've got a module on deciding who your patients are going to be. Who do you want to treat? And where do you want to treat? What state, city, town, neighborhood, what building type, what suite type do you want to treat in? As an existing practitioner, this is the time to reevaluate. You can always move. You can always switch from NBA players to infants. You can
Right.
add. So from every standpoint, from branding to your even from your logo to your brand name, like do you need to tweak that? So it's cool. It's a cool. So if I'm an existing practitioner of 3 years and I'm going through a module and the existing one I actually kind of want to revisit the student version of this module and start from scratch. So it's not, you don't have to choose one or the other. You're going to get fed the more beginner track and the more experienced doctor track and kind of see which one you want to do that month, or maybe you want to do both of them. But it's
Yeah.
kind of it's like everybody can benefit from this because with the book, I've had a lot of people who have been in practice 10, 20 years who've read it. And what it did for them is they said, wow, it reminded me of all the things I used to do. And I'm restarting those now. It kind of
Mm.
reignited
Yeah.
what they already were good at. So there's never like a bad time to interact with a mentor or a program that can help you feel more passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah. Such a good point. And I will confirm that because you and I stood next to each other signing books, and I noticed that your line was, I would say, mostly younger, newer people in the
Yeah.
profession or students, but it wasn't only that. And there were
Yeah.
plenty of people who I'm like, I've seen you at seminars for the last 10 years, and they were like, maybe it was filling a hole that they were like, I've never really addressed this, or I would like to reevaluate this because a lot of us, we just fall into stuff, right? Like, I just do that because the guy before me did it or the practice I bought did it, and doesn't mean it's necessarily what we want to do.
Well, speaking of that, I think the practice fox would be a really good idea for someone who bought a practice because you're going to buy
Mm,
a practice that's going to be rooted in someone else's values and their why. And you're going to need to start to integrate your values and your why with existing patients. So it's a good place to be in where you're already working, but now I can work through some assignments that really help me make it my own.
yeah, it's great. Well,
Yeah.
Lisa, this has been great. I'm super excited about it. So once again, for those interested in the entire Lisa Goodman ecosystem, you have the website, which is drlisagoodman.com, drlisagoodman.com. And then soon we'll have a website for the Practice
The
Fox. And
practice. Yeah, the practicebox.com is probably potentially even going to be up and running by the time this airs, actually, in the next
okay,
couple of days. So that,
fantastic.
yeah, we'll just go with the practicebox.com. That'll motivate me to get it.
And the manual, where can people find the manual for their
The
healthcare
manual
business?
for the Chiropractic Entrepreneur is on Amazon. It's on Kindle, it's on softcover, hardcover, and I'm finishing up editing the audio book right now if you really want to hear
Cool.
me read it to you. But that probably won't be out for another few months.
Fantastic. Well, Lisa, this has been awesome. I really appreciate the time. For those of you who are interested, Lisa has an amazing energy about her. I hope you can get to see her out on the road like I have, and you'll see why so many people are attracted to her programs and her method and just her way of looking at things. It works, and it works for everybody. It works for the business owners, and I think it works for your patients as well, and the people working for you. So, congratulations on all your success, Lisa.
Thanks, Josh. You too.
And with that, this is Dr. Josh Satterlee saying, go out there, build trust with your patients, help them have a great experience. You'll be amazed at the outcomes.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Trust Driven Insights, brought to you by TrustDrivenCare. Imagine a world where all your patient communication is in one place, seamless, effortless, and on autopilot. That's the power of trust-driven care. If you're ready to streamline your practice, check out TrustDrivenCare.com and see what's possible. Trust-driven insights, real conversations, smarter care, stronger business.